Okay, so once again, for those of you who are just joining in, welcome. This is going to be a sharing session. It is not going to be a lesson, but neither is it just going to be a briefing because lessons are stressful and briefings are boring. This is somewhere in between. For those of you who are P6s, P6 students or parents of primary 6, congratulations, right? Your PSLE is over and therefore hopefully you're feeling a bit relaxed. For everyone else who is not in P6 and still has exams to come, all the best. Now, the question that you may have right off the top is, why exactly do I need to do this now? Especially it's Deepavali, right? Happy Deepavali if you celebrate. Some of you are possibly even joining in from your holiday overseas. I think if you are, there is great commitment. But why exactly do we need to do it now? I did a quick Google search of COCO, and I realized that recently, for some reason, it has been designated that COCO is a cramming school. Now, I know that cramming school is just a 补习班. That's a literal translation, but it sounds really horrible. I really hate that. At least I do not consider that I am teaching cramming classes. And I do not consider that, in fact, if you're coming for Olympiad classes, that's not tuition. It's not 补习. Some of you will say, oh, you have your math Olympiad tuition. I hate that. This is not math Olympiad tuition. You do not need tuition for math Olympiads. If you are having tuition, it's because you would like some help in something that you're weaker in. Just like you wouldn't say that you go for swimming tuition. Neither will you say you go for piano tuition, right? That's not what you call it. Now, why we should be here, very simply, is math is fun. Now, I hope that for everyone that is here, whether you are the person taking the competitions or you are parents who has a child who is taking part in these competitions, I hope it is at least enjoyable. Now, when I was in primary school, I remember that when I first joined the Olympiad class in my primary school, I was from St. Hilda's Primary. Then there was some very difficult question, right, that the Olympiad teacher was going through. And then after that, some of the other students were like, this is such a waste of time. Like why are we doing this? Like, why this math is such a waste of time, basically. And primary school me started crying because I felt so sad. I felt so sad. I was like, why would anyone feel that math is not fun and it's a waste of time? You don't have to start crying. And certainly now, if you tell me that, teacher, I don't actually think math is that fun, I'm not going to start crying. But that's how I felt then. And it is actually important that we have that sort of enjoyment. Otherwise, as we're going to see for today's sharing, things are going to get much, 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 much harder. And you need to find it fun in order to keep going. Okay. Now, at the same time, there's also the practical aspects of this, right? Now, for everyone who has been doing a lot of school exam or PSLE style questions, here is a speed question. Very famous. Of course, I've changed the numbers a little bit. So all the kids who are watching here, what is the answer to this question? most of your cameras are switched off, but I can imagine that right now the scenes behind the camera, right? Someone taking a piece of paper, starting to calculate, someone is trying to Google how long is a marathon, and then some of you who are parents will be trying to find where is your child and try to drag, hey, look, how long does it, what is the answer to this question? You can type in the chat if you want. This is not SMO question, huh? Yeah, don't squint. I know that my PowerPoint formatting is such that you're supposed to have a faint shadow of the answer, but don't try to stare very hard at your phone, tablet, or smart TV or laptop. Yeah, so as some of you are realizing, the answer is that it's infinite speed. Another way of saying is it's impossible. You cannot do that anymore. Right? Because you have this runner who has run the first half of the marathon at half of the speed. Now, if you run half the marathon at half the speed, you have taken up your entire time that you wanted to take. So you have no time left. And if you have no time left, you literally need to be infinitely fast. This is trying to wake some of you up if you haven't done math for a while, but this is also metaphorical. If you start too slow, it can actually be too late for you to get your targets for the SMO. Does that mean we are back to Swati and cramming again? The answer is not cramming. Please do not think of Olympiad math as cramming. In fact, if you have thought of it as cramming, I can guarantee you are not going to do very well for SMO. For NMOS, for RMO, for AdMops, for Mathlympics, can. You can't cram, but the good thing is that starting early is not kiasu. It's actually fun. When you start to see some of these SMO problems, and I'll share a few today, you will realize that there is still so much math to do. And of course, if you say that, no, I want to enjoy my holiday, I don't want to go and think about math, that's fine. Just make sure that you know what are the possible targets. And then you can decide. For example, if you play the piano, you can decide you want to become a concert pianist. That's one level. You can decide you just want to get grade 8. That can be a level. You can decide you just like to play some nice music. That can also be okay. But you need to realize that if we start too late and we go too slow, it actually is impossible. You need infinite speed in order to catch up after a while, and that's not going to happen. Now, the next question that some of you may have is, actually, why do I need to do like Olympiads? Now, if you are here, it means that you are somewhat interested, right? You at least are somewhat curious. So I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you should not do Olympiads. Is that why you came here, to have the teacher and speaker tell you why not to do Olympiads? I'm not telling you not to do Olympiads. I'm telling you the reasons that should not be why you're doing Olympiads. Now, number one, some of you who are parents are thinking of university applications. Now, it is true that doing well in Olympiads helps, but genuinely, it is way too early for us to say that we would like to get a university place studying mathematics. For 99% of you, that should not be the motivation. Don't think too far ahead, because do you want to spend 45 hours a week doing math? I don't think you know what 45 hours a week of doing math even means yet. So do we like that? Don't know. So don't think all the way ahead. Now, some of you are the other way. You're not thinking of all the way ahead. You're thinking of, okay, I do Olympiads because it helps me with my math in school. That is true. It is 100% true that if you do Olympiads, almost guaranteed that you are going to get your A's, your A1s. For primary school, of course, AL1. For secondary, it can be A or A1. But Olympiad math is way too hard for that purpose. It is like basically saying that there is one housefly in my house, and I am going to hire a team of 10 people to kill that one fly. You don't need to do that. Neither should you be doing this because you can show off. None of us will admit this, but it feels pretty good. It feels pretty good because, like, you know, when your friends, let's say, have difficulties with math and then you seem to be better, it feels very good. Or maybe it's like, wow, I cannot even do one question of this competition, and then you got a gold, you got a platinum, you got a high distinction, you got into the top 50, 30, 10. It sounds really good. If that is your only reason, it's too tiring and it's too hard. Now, speaking of friends, if you're doing this just because all your friends are doing it, you're welcome to do it together with your friends. I think math is something we should do as a community. It should be something that we enjoy discussing, but don't let it be peer pressure. So don't do Olympiads because all your friends say, hey, I'm also doing, how come you're not doing? Right? That should not be the reason. It is not going to go very well either. Okay, so that's the reasons you shouldn't do it. Now, why should you do it? Math is fun. Now, a lot of us who are doing Olympiads at least find it somewhat fun. But do you find it fun because it's easy? Or do you find it fun because you actually enjoy the challenge? Or do you find it fun because you feel that math is like super elegant or super clever? Well, you should have a bit of all. It shouldn't all be just because math is easy or you feel good when you solve questions. Because lots of questions are really, really hard to solve. Like, why is it hard? Can be because you need to be creative. Creativity in math is something that you will hear, oh, creative thinking. You will hear that you need to have like 创意, right? Ideas. But then when you do your math in school, now math in school is meant to be a routine most of the time. So after this session, Chuan Lao Sư, teacher Kathy will be talking about IP math, right? That is basically math curriculum in IP schools. Now, I'm not saying it is easy versus hard, but it's sort of like math in school is about being able to follow instructions properly and not get confused which set of instructions to follow. That can be tricky. Like if you've ever tried to read the instruction manual for your refrigerator or for your computer or for your phone, following instructions can be hard and confusing, but it is not creative. The MOE and the exam board basically tell exactly what can be tested. If you ever looked at the PSLE syllabus, O-level syllabus, you know, they'll tell you exactly, this question cannot be tested. This topic cannot be tested. This topic can be tested, but only if the numbers are this big. This one can be tested, but it cannot be more than 2 people in this word problem, more than 3 people in this word problem. It's very rigid. Now, on the other hand, for SMO, we will never finish teaching every possible topic because that is the whole point. Right after this, I am teaching the AMC class, the American Math Contest class. And so I'll teach some topics, and then after that we have a quiz. The quiz, I will purposely come up with some questions that I have not taught. That means that I know what I've just taught, and I'm deliberately going to test you on something I've not taught. Why? Because that's how competitions are. Can you figure out an idea on your own? And this is useful in many different areas, not just math, because when we do things in math, when we do things in even creative writing, whenever you do things, let's say in science experiments, very important. And so this helps us in our thinking. Now, another thing is just that math is hard. I'm sure that there are some of you who have gotten used to doing a lot of homework, right? Homework is hard because sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes your teacher only gives you 2 days to do it. But it's not always because the questions are very hard. It's just like boring. Or sometimes like, if your teacher asks you to write 习字 and then you have to go and write this 词语 20 times, right? That's not hard, that's boring. But you can do it. So that's one kind of tenacity. But you know that when we talk about a lot of math research, it takes decades or centuries to solve the question. Meaning that if let's say I start doing a problem now, maybe I die already, then after that someone else take over for me, they also die, someone else takes over for me before it's finally solved. That's how hard math can be. Once in a while, you are the one that solves it and you feel very happy. Some things you just do. Now, on the other hand, if let's say you think of your RMO, how many minutes do you have per question?
Around 5 minutes.
Around 5 minutes.
3 minutes, 3 minutes. 3 minutes long.
3 minutes, right? 20 questions, 1 hour. So 5 minutes versus hundreds of years. You cannot jump from the 5-minute difficulty to the 100-year difficulty problem all at one go. It's sort of like saying that first I start lifting 5 grams and then after that I lift 500 kilograms, right? You can't just jump like that. Now, when we do the SMO, and then later I'll talk a bit about the IMO as well, some of the questions can take 30 minutes to solve. Some of the questions can take a few days to solve. That's a lot compared to 3 minutes, but that is still very little compared to centuries or decades. So it's sort of the next step. At the same time, this is not like it's difficult because it's just very long. No, it's cleverness. It's like how long do you take to come up with an idea? It's not because there are 100 lines of working. So it's very fun in that respect. Now, another thing is just that you learn to learn. And when I say you learn to learn, this is why math Olympiads are useful. Because if you have ever seen the names of those people who win, let's say for primary school, the SPSO as well as the NMOS, there's quite a lot of overlap, right? Now, it's partially, of course, you do use a bit of math for some science questions. But it's also because you learn how to learn a new topic. You learn how to understand solutions. You learn how to sort of like understand some entire topic very deeply. You understand how this topic is related to the other topic. And you also understand, very importantly, am I good at this or not? Like meaning that for math, it doesn't need to be, teacher, I think I'm very lousy at math. You can be sort of, I'm quite good at geometry. I am very bad at those kind of counting questions. Or I'm quite good at those counting questions, but I'm very bad at algebra. Well, knowing yourself, then you're able to adjust your own preparation, right? What do I practice more? This is a very useful skill, and it applies to everything else. Now, another thing which I want to emphasize is about intellectual humility. You see, a lot of times when your friends have not done math Olympiads before, but then they get like nearly full marks on their school exam, they think math is very easy, right? They think math is very easy because it's like, I know everything already. Because they've never seen something difficult. Now, it is actually sort of the more you know, the less you actually feel you know. Like I can tell you that right now, I am the teacher. I can say that I feel like I know nothing about math. I feel as if I know nothing about math. But when I was in primary school, when I was in secondary school, I felt I know a lot about math. Why? Not because I've gotten old and slow, but because I realized there's so many things I don't know, which Previously, I didn't even know it exists. Now, math is also about building on what other people have done. It's not group work. It's more like you need to look at what other people have discovered. This is also what we'll have in Olympiads. You will learn from each other. If you're sitting in the same classroom, you'll realize that question 1, you find it easy, they find it hard. Question 2, you find it hard, they find it easy. And you teach each other, you help each other, and you get better while also having fun, while also realizing that I cannot be better than everyone else. No one is better than everyone else in math. There is no such thing. And one of the things about Olympiads is that sometimes you will spend 6 hours doing nothing. Right? There's this joke about in university, right? You have got 3 people go into the library. Okay, so you have got someone who is studying literature, so English literature, writing. Another one is an architect, and then the third is a math major, someone who studies math. So after like 5 hours, they're all sitting there together. Then they say, okay, so what do you do for the last 5 hours? So then the English literature major says, oh, I managed to write these 5 pages of my research paper. Then after that, the architect says, oh, I managed to build this model of, let's say, how we will build a particular building. And then the math major says, I finally understand why what I wrote down was wrong. That's usually how math is. It is that hard, but it is very important. Now, I've spent a lot of time talking about this. You're like, okay, can you get to the point, right? What's the SMO? Well, practical benefits of Olympiads are very much there. You get to understand what high-level math looks like. Yes, it helps you with entering universities. Yes, it gives you your scholarships. Yes, it gives you your job. This is my job. I'm teaching math. It is a job. It is a good job. There are lots of practical benefits, but it's come later. I can just assure you, though, that they exist because all the latest fields of, like, let's say, quantitative finance, AI, data science, they did not exist when I was a student. So it used to be that when we were doing math Olympiads, right? We're doing math, right? The parents of that generation will say, 没谈价,没前途, basically. That's not true now. There is a lot of things you can do with math. So it's practically beneficial. I should say so. Okay, so this is now the very big picture of like a big advertisement of why you should do math Olympiads and math, as well as a few reasons why you should not. But you are here for a slightly different reason also. You are here because some of you may not actually know much about what does Olympiads even mean. What are Olympiads like in the secondary level? And so that's the name of this session, right? It's a SMO sharing session. The primary school classes, right? They don't call it the RMO class. You don't call it the NMOS class. You don't call it the Mathlympics class usually, because they're all sort of like not equal, but they are similar, right? That means they are similarly popular. They are similarly difficult, even though the format's a bit different. For the SMO, for secondary schools, the SMO is the Singapore Math Olympiad. It's not Secondary Math Olympiads, okay? SMO is not Secondary Math Olympiads, plural. It's the Singapore Math Olympiad. That means it's just called the Singapore Math Olympiad because it's our national competition. It's not the only one, but all the other competitions, either they are sort of like warm-ups. Some of you have taken SASMO in primary school, SIMOC competition, they still exist, but they're much easier than SMO, like much easier. There are those that are from other countries. Let's say the American, the British, the Australian, we can take it. But we sort of can only take their first round, meaning that you cannot really take their harder ones. This is only like you can take the introductory ones because these countries' math associations want to make more money. So they let the whole world take part, but you cannot take their final round. So you can't really win the highest awards for any of these. And also you don't get to see the most enjoyable or fun questions. Now, there are also a lot of others I'll share, like let's say the IMC, there are, let's say, the China Western, the China Girls Math Olympiad, the China Math Olympiad, the International Math Olympiad, or IMO. These ones start from the SMO. By doing well in the SMO, it sort of unlocks the rest of these. Just like when you play a game, you have to unlock the higher levels, or you have to unlock the more rare items by doing the earlier levels, or by getting the so-called more straightforward or more traditional items first. So that's how Olympiads look like. Now, let's talk about the format. All of you, if you are in P6, you are going to take the SMO Junior next year. Unless by next year, you are more than 14 years old, which I don't think so. Then for Sec 3 and Sec 4, they will take the SMO Senior. And then there's the SMO Open. It's called Open because just like the open section of most, let's say, chess tournaments, anyone can take part. So it's at the JC level, but anyone can take part. You can take part in the SMO Open when you are in Sec 1, but of course you will find it very hard. But you can. Now, there are 2 rounds of each competition. The first round will be in the first week of the June holidays, meaning next year, and the second round will be at the end of the June holidays. So that is the timing every year. It did not change except during COVID, where it got postponed a little bit and there was no round 2. Other than that, it's always the same. Very reliable. And for each section, everyone's competing together. Okay, so that's the first thing why I mentioned about that marathon analogy. If you are Sec 1 next year, you are still competing with the Sec 2s together. There's no like junior SMOPS, junior RMO, don't have. You are taking it together. And if you're taking it together, that means that you cannot say that, oh, but it's not fair. Well, you will be Sec 2. When you're Sec 2, then you will have the same SMO Junior as well. But next year, you're also taking the SMO Junior. If you are in P6, of course, this year. Okay, now, some of you have seen the blurb from our admin team advertising this session, right? And then it's like, oh, so you have seen that, oh, I got, let's say, this position for junior and senior. So let me just sort of like go into it in more detail, just to sort of show it. Okay, so this is what like a particular student like SMO is going to look like. You keep taking the SMO. This is mine, right? And I'll explain what all of these are in a while, but it's sort of like, okay, last time in primary 6, you can take the SMO junior. Now you cannot. Otherwise, I'm sure a lot of you would have taken it also. Now you cannot take it in primary 6. You can only take it starting from Sec 1 or year 1. Right, so this were what I got. Means that I started taking the SMO Open from the time I was in Sec 1/year 1. I did not do as well. And then eventually I did better. And then I take the SMO Open every year continuously. And you can keep taking it, but you will get better results over time. That's not surprising, right? Now, the SMO Open is pretty hard to do well in because it's everybody. So all the top students from secondary 1 until JC2, year 1 to year 6, are all taking the SMO Open. So my best placing was 2nd when I was in my final year. But before that, it was tend to be hovering. It's very hard to do better than that reliably because everyone is taking the same competition. And as you'll see, the SMO format is a little bit different from what we are used to. I don't know if I should show this, but one time only, here is a picture of me when I was a kid, just as proof that this is real. And then after, you're never going to see this picture again. Okay, so this is the format of the SMO. All of you should pay particular focus to the SMO Junior, but they're quite similar to the other sections as well. Look at it, and can you tell me what looks weird about this? I advertised this already, right? What is weird about the SMO? What do you mean do 5 questions in 4 hours for the competition? I warned you just now, right? I warned you about how your primary school, 3 to 5 minutes per question. That's it. But the research question take tens of years, hundreds of years. We cannot get there all of a sudden. We cannot 一步登天, right? So this is what the SMO round 2 is like. 5 questions in 3 hours for junior and 5 questions in 4 hours for senior and open. And I promise you, the problem is not going to be, oh, so boring, I'll fall asleep. The problem is going to be that is not enough time. That is very little time. Totally different from our primary school competitions, where like the focus is almost on doing mental calculations as fast as you can, will save you 1-2 minutes here. For round 1, 2.5 hours or 25 questions feels not so bad, right? It's like more time than all the primary school competitions, but you kind of say, yeah, that makes sense, right? 25 questions, the question's a bit harder. Instead of, let's say, 3 minutes per question or 4 minutes per question, now I get, this is 6 minutes per question. Right? It seems okay, right? 6 minutes seems okay. Then what am I doing that time? Okay, I'll show you some round 2 questions later so that you understand what's happening. But let's talk about round 1 first. And specifically, let's talk about junior. Okay, if I show you the open questions, all of you will quit. And then after that, COCO will have no business, and then my boss will be very angry. So we are going to talk about round 1 junior first. When you look at the SMO round 1, some of you have seen a bit of the SMO already. Quick show of hand, how many of you have seen the SMO paper? You've just looked at it. The whole paper, not like 1-2 questions from Mr. Alex, from Peng Lao Si, from Fang Lao Si. You've seen the whole paper. Well, I don't expect too many.
So my sister's favorite.
Yeah, my sister. Okay, so of course, if you have seen it, here's the thing that is going to be interesting. Some of it looks hard, but some of it doesn't look that hard. Like some of it looks actually quite okay. But looks can be deceiving. Now, let me first show you a problem again. I said this is for both parents and students, so I need to give all the kids here something interesting to do. This is something that you can have in the NMOS, right? So how many factors does 40,000 have? I picked 40,000 because I think you can do it mentally. Can you, in 1 minute, tell me how many factors does 40,000 have?
35.
So yes, 40,000, there are 35 factors, thank you. You just prime factorize, okay? So very easy. This is not the SMO problem, right? This is, let's say, a P5, P6 problem. Now, let me change one thing. Literally, I change it by 1.
Wait.
So now I ask, how many factors does 39999 have?
8. It's 199 times 201, and then 201 is like 3 times 6. 66. So it's 8.
Right. So now the difference here is that this uses a little bit of algebra, right? Now, some of you, of course, may know it's algebra. Some of you is that you know a number pattern. The number pattern is that if you have got a difference of squares, or even just a square number minus 1, then it will just go, instead of 200 times 200, it goes to 199 times 201. Okay, so now this is sort of an easy SMO junior question. If you have seen the pattern before, as some of you have, then quite easy to say that, oh, I can also do this. Correct, not all SMO questions are impossible. They are easy ones. But it's harder than 40,000 because you need to know this pattern. Okay, now how about 40,001? Again, don't try to stare too closely at the screen.
Let 10 be 100. So let 10 to be A and 40,001 is equals to 4A to the power of 4 plus 1, which
Correct.
is 4A to the power 4 plus 4A to the power of 2 plus 1 minus 4A to the power of 2, which is 2A squared plus 1, the square of it minus the square of 2A, which is 2A squared minus 2A plus 1 times 2A squared plus 2A plus 1.
Good. Yes, that is correct. So I've written it just in terms of the, yeah, so 200 plus 1 squared minus 2 times 200. Yeah, that is the 2a squared plus 1 squared minus 2 times 2a squared, or 4a squared, as you just said. So good. This is now a bit harder, right? Because you need to know a more unusual manipulation. This approach, this manipulation is known as the Sophie-Germain identity, which some of you may have just recently seen in a class. If you were taught, then you will recognize this. Now, again, all of these are just about factors, right? But actually, it's algebra. And that is the thing, right? Just because if you see 40,000, 39999, and 40,001, they're not the same. They're not just all about, okay, I just try to find factors. But they don't look much harder if you just have, let's say, 5 seconds, you walk past your friend who's doing this, like, hey, this looks like something quite easy. There is a difference. Thanks to those of you who answered the questions. For those of you who are, wait, what's going on? That's too fast for me. It's okay. If you have not learned the algebra yet, I'm not going to explain it now, but that is one of the distinctives of the SMO Junior. Lots of algebra. Now, here is just some benchmarks that you would want to know just for statistics, right? So the SMO Junior, let's say, has usually about 4,000 to 5,000 participants. The SMO Senior is about, and Open is about 3,000 to 4,000. About the top 90 to 120 people get into round 2. It's not a lot, right? That's roughly it. And honorable mention, bronze and silver is given based on just round 1. So round 1, remember, 25 questions just now in the table, 2.5 hours. If you get, roughly speaking, somewhere around 15 points, you have a chance of getting to round 2. Some years it's a bit higher, like 16 or 17. Sometimes if it's very hard, it can be a bit lower, but they don't tell you the percentage or the number of points. It changes every year. They don't even tell you how many percent get into round 2. The SMO website still says the top 10% get into round 2, but that's obviously a lie because 5,000 people took it and only 100 people got into round 2 last year. So, sorry, this year. So that's obviously wrong, meaning that they don't even seem to be following their own rules. So I don't know exactly what the cutoff is, but it's around that sort of score. Now, if you get into round 2, you are guaranteed at least a silver, right? Meaning getting to round 2, the cutoff is higher than the silver, bronze, or honorable mention kind of cutoffs. So if you miss round 2, that's not the end of the world. You get a silver. There's no platinum. The highest is gold. So if you get into round 2, you at least get a silver. And then depending on how you do in round 2, you may or may not get a gold. So this is roughly what you're looking at, meaning also that if you can do 50% of the questions, that's not bad. You will get like a bronze or silver most of the time. If you get around 50% of the questions, a lot of times we will be making some careless mistakes. So of course you need to get a bit more. But it doesn't mean that by next year, you need to be able to solve every single question. Okay, let's talk about topics. Now, the topics for all of the Olympiads in the world are usually classified into A, C, G, and N. Algebra, combinatorics, geometry, and number theory. Now, for junior, senior, and open, these are still the list of categories. So categories is not the same as topics. It's just that these are how they label them. So every time whenever, let's say I say, we're doing a lesson on algebra, If it's a SMO junior algebra, SMO senior algebra, SMO open algebra, you get harder, but they're all algebra as the categorization only. Just like physics, chemistry, biology, you can have Sec 1, Sec 2, Sec 3, Sec 4, all of them, the categories are like this. Doesn't mean that those are the same thing over and over again. Now, roughly speaking, here is an indication of some of the topics for SMO Junior within each of the categories. Now, if you were to sort of take a 1 minute look at this, you will say, it looks quite familiar. Like, I know permutations and combinations already. I know probability. I know prime factorization, GCD and LCM. I know Pythagoras theorem. I know about circles. I know about congruent and similar triangles. I know how to do area. Like, only a little bit of difference. Then algebra looks very different if you have not done it before. If you take a look at this, that's your thought. Algebra is new. The rest is quite familiar. That is true. But we saw the example just now, right? With 40,000, 40,000 and 1, 40,000 minus 1. The questions can have an algebra flavor, even though that one was still about factorization. So I'm not going to ask you to do this problem, but this is an example of how a problem can be turned into algebra. Or at least algebraification. I made up a word. You won't be able to do all of the questions using whole numbers. So even if, let's say, this question is just trapezium, parallel line midpoint, that's quite easy to understand. Ratio of areas. I'm sure many of us have done this sort of question before. I'm sure that Alex, Fang 老师, Zhang 老师, Peng 老师have taught you well. But unless you were doing a Sec 1 class, they're not going to put square roots all over the place like this, except in the case where it's square root of a square number. Right, so now you need to do the geometry, and you also need to handle the square roots. And what will happen is sometimes we cannot handle the square roots, even though we can handle the geometry. So this is one example of how it can be done. I'm not going to ask you to do this question now because we don't have an infinite amount of time, but you can just screenshot it if you want, and then try it on your own. Okay, now let's talk about round 2. 5 questions in 3 or 4 hours. For anyone that is not here in this talk, right, when it comes to the December class, again, I will mention this and then they'll be like, so are the questions super hard? It's a bit difficult to actually answer, is it hard or is it not hard? But I would say that the time is definitely not a lot. Now, there are a whole bunch of additional tools that are mostly applicable for round 2. But this doesn't mean that round 2 is harder because it has more steps. Again, I said creativity just now. And I said fun. Let me show you an example of a question. Right, this is question 4 of the SMO Junior 2016 round 2. Now, a group of tourists get on 10 buses on the way out, and then after that, they get on 8 buses on the way back. Right? So tourists are going and then they come back. At first, there's 10 buses, they come back, it's 8 buses. Now, there's no empty buses. So what the question says is, assuming each bus is not empty, and this one tourist, prove that there are at least 3 tourists such that when they come back, their bus is more crowded. Each of them has taken a bus in the return trip that has more people. So at least 3 tourists, when they come back, are on a more crowded bus. This is not very surprising, right? If let's say that you remove 2 buses, then they're more crowded lah. Like, that is very unshocking. But how do I know this. You cannot say that, oh, so if let's say this one at first has how many people, then this one has how many people, then if this person comes here, then if this person comes here, then if this person comes here, your explanation must be, how do you know for sure? It cannot be, I give you like science experiment, repeat the experiment 3 times, and then I say that therefore it is true. That's not how proofs work. Like this is 10 marks. Does not mean that you have to write an entire 作文, an entire essay of like 5 pages long to get 10 marks. No, it does not mean longer is better. It also isn't even going to be a lot of algebra or a lot of equations. Here's my solution. Let's give each bus 1 cake. Let's give each bus 1 cake. So the buses, 10 buses going there means 10 cakes. 8 buses come back means 8 cakes. And you imagine that on each bus, they just slice the cake evenly and give it to everyone. Now, there are 2 less cakes when you come back. But some of the tourists get less cake. But less cake doesn't mean no cake when they come back, because at most, if you have less cake, your loss of cake is less than 1 cake. Right? If let's say at the start you are on your own bus, you have 1 whole cake. You come back on 100 people on the bus, you still get 1% of a cake. So your reduction in cake is less than 1 cake. But there are 2 fewer cakes. So that means that at least 3 people got less cake. Can, this can be the solution. This can be worth 10 points. I mean, no, this is correct. Like, it is not just about the model answer. If you were to read the model answer, it shows a lot of algebra. No need. As long as your proof, your justification is correct, you can talk about cake. And this is why it's fun. Because you can come up with this kind of creative ideas. It's valid. Even though, obviously, the model answer doesn't say cake. And of course, this also doesn't mean you must follow exactly. Like you say that, teacher, what if I have each bus has 1 bun? No difference. As long as you know that your argument is going to cover all situations and not just, oh, if I do this, then I do this, then I do this, I do this. This is how round 2 is like. When you talk to some of your friends, let's say, or your sibling, right, in Sec 1, Sec 2, whatever levels, where have taken SMO before, when they go to round 2, what happens is that there are a lot of fake solves. Fake solves, meaning that everyone will say that, oh, 5 questions, I solved 5 questions. I solved 4 questions. But it's not always accurate. So the question can be something like this. Again, it's a round 2 question. I'm not asking you to solve in 1 minute. But I want to highlight also that this is what we will get to in our classes at some point when there's enough basics that have been developed. You need to know how to prove things. If you started right now, you quickly grabbed a piece of paper and started listing powers of 2 and powers of 5, I think you can get an answer. That gives you 1 plus 1 point. 2 points out of 10. Because most of the points are on why everything else doesn't work. We don't have to do this for round 1. You don't even have to do this normally when you say show workings, right? When you show workings, let's say for your PSLE, you just show how you do the calculations. You do not need to explain why another answer doesn't work. You usually don't have to do that. You just need to explain how you got your answer. But this is part of a proof. That what are the possible values? How do you know that there aren't other values? So this one, our why round 2 can be really hard. And most of the time, you either get 0, 1, 2 or 8, 9, 10. Okay, now there's another question here which I'm not going to talk about, but I would just say that sometimes it's just a part of algebra as well. So there are the clever ones. There are also just the lots of algebra ones, which are pretty difficult. Both of them are difficult in different ways. Right? One of them is technical, the other one was just cake. But I can guarantee you in a year or two, you will find that those kinds of questions, that's combinatorics, is harder than the algebra ones that look very scary right now. Okay, now for the rest of this session, because it's now 1:52, right? I'm just going to talk very quickly about some of the longer term things that you're going to see. Right? So just what is the rest of the pathway? You're not going to be encountering this like right now, but whether it's a year from now, 2 years from now, what's the rest of the pathway? Okay. First thing is that SMO scores are based on the total of round 1 and round 2. That will determine whether you get a gold, which is around half of the people that get into round 2 will get a gold. And that will be also for the top 30 in rankings. It changes a lot from year to year because if let's say round 2 has one much easier question, the score can go up by 10 points to get into the top 30. It can go up by 20 points if there are two very easy questions, and it can suddenly be very low. Like let's say for this year, to get into top 30 of senior, you only did 35 points. From 2 rounds combined means 35 out of 75 gets you into the top 30. Right? So it changes a lot. Now, this is going to then be the start of the pathway to the IMO, where you end up with really scary problems. This one was the third question of this year's IMO. It was one that actually our Prime Minister in the National Day rally put up on the screen to say that I don't even understand this question. And I guess for most of you who are watching this now, as parents or as students, it's quite normal if right now you don't understand what the question is even saying, or if you understand the words, but you're not quite sure how you even begin. That's normal. And that's why there is a very long pathway, because IMO questions are still very far away from the research level questions, but they are another step up. So that's a pathway. You don't get through it all at one go, but there is what is called the SMO team, which is SMO is the Singapore IMO International Math Olympiad teams. And basically, there are 3 steps, which is your junior, senior, and national teams. So when you do well in the junior round 2, you get into the junior team. The junior team has a test, which will get you into the senior team, or you can also do well in senior round 2 to get into the senior team. And then after that, the national team is by doing well in the open round 2. So there are levels to this, right? There are levels, but all of them start from the SMO. This is only for Singaporeans and PRs. So you can take the SMO whether you are Singaporean or PR, but getting to represent Singapore or be in the SIMO team is only for Singaporeans and PRs. I don't think this is extremely important right now, but just be aware that if that does happen, it will start from the middle of next year, and it will basically be on Saturday mornings. Right? So this is going to become sort of like, for those of us who get into the SIMO team, for me, I basically spent 5 years where my Saturday mornings are all taken up by SIMO team training. These are conducted by, let's say, some school teachers who are in the committee, as well as some NUS professors, as well as some past IMO participants, including some of my friends. So this is the next target, right? And for anyone who wants to get into the SIMO team, it starts with round 2, and then you sort of have these levels. And then once you get to these levels, you then get more competitions to take. And then the so-called climax is, if you made it into the national team, then you get to take another test, which is the NTST, the National Team Selection Test, where questions in the IMO format, 3 questions, 4.5 hours. Even longer, 1.5 hours per question. And then that's how they pick the 6 IMO team members every year. And by every year, it means that this year you get in, next year you may not get in. So this is a long road. That's why I call it a marathon. And if you start off too late, obviously you need to go at infinite speed to get there. Or you can say, you know what, this is too hard for me. I'm happy with SMO, bronze, silver, gold. Good for you. That's also okay. Okay, so the last couple of things to say is that COCO has also come out with its own scheme where we will basically have cash prizes and awards for those who get medals at those international competitions. Not the SMO, otherwise there's too much money. So this is something that is going to be just one small bonus incentive, right? For IMO gold medals, I think this year we gave $5,000, which is a lot less than an Olympic gold medal, but it's still a lot of money, right? And but honestly speaking, if you can get to the level of an IMO gold medal, it is more valuable than $5,000. So this is sort of the end of the Olympiad pathway if you manage to get there. Okay, now, what exactly then is the final piece of advice? We've talked a lot about how the SMO is like. Do something. Now, you will be able to find a lot of the past SMO papers over on my YouTube channel. Try them. See how you fare right now. I've told you the kinds of cutoffs there are. Are you able to do 10 questions right now? Are you able to do 15 questions right now? Are you only able to do one question right now? I don't know. You also don't know. Try it. You have lots of time. Just see how it goes. It is fun. And also, I think some of you may be a bit more frightened. It is actually not so bad. Okay, so that is where I will conclude for now. On this set of slides, if you want to refer to it, I will upload this recording also to my YouTube channel. So if there's any things that you missed out, you can find it there. Okay, now it is basically the time where teacher Kathy will be taking over to talk about the IP Math syllabus. Some of you are here for her session, so I suppose I just managed to finish on time, but I'm going to stick around here. So for all of the students here, here is a question for you to think about in the style of the SMO round 2. And for all of you who have any questions, I will stay in the chat. You can just direct message me in the chat if you have any questions. But otherwise, I'm going to just stop talking and I'll hand over the time to teacher Kathy. Right. So,
Teacher?
Yes.
How much marks do you have to get for junior second round in order to get top 30?
It is based on the total for round 1 and round 2. Like I said, it changes a lot every year, but a rough estimate usually is about 30 marks. So 3 out of 5 questions is usually enough.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll stop the recording here first so I can hand the time over. Like I said, if any of you have any questions, just feel free to ask me in the chat. I will stick around for a short while more, and then if I see no more questions, then I will step out. But thanks for coming. And yeah, so the classes for oh, okay, I think we can do a few minutes. Okay, so we can have a few minutes. If you have any questions, you can ask first. Maybe I'll just say that in terms of the class schedule, right? I will invite you to, for all of you who are interested, I will strongly encourage for you to join the holiday class because we will start on algebra. So if you skip the holiday class, what happens is that there's a big jump of algebra being like the step that confuses you every time. So if you can do a little bit of algebra on your own already, then fine. If not, then basically it's encouraged that you join the holiday class. This is, of course, something that if you have any questions, you can ask me. You can share my contact. You can also speak to our level head who will be able to give you more details. Yeah, okay. So Zhensu also said that we can take 10 minutes of Q&A. So like out loud. So if you have any questions now, you can let me know.
For the primary school Olympiads, do the
Yes.
awards still count?
Do the awards still count for what exactly?
Like, are they still useful?
Are they still useful? Okay. Normally, no, unless you are doing the job I'm doing, right? So some of you, if you see my profile on the website, then COCO will say, oh, I got first place in the RMO, I got second place in the SMOPS, I got second place in the NMOS. That sounds very good because I'm teaching Olympiads. But for almost everywhere else, you can say it, but the SMO and all of these are going to take much higher priority because they are so different in style that let's say if you are applying to any internship or if you're trying to apply DSA to like, let's say a JC or something, the primary school ones will sort of become very small and the secondary ones will start to become more significant.
So they're useless unless I teach at COCO.
Not just at COCO, but like what I mean is that like the primary school competitions sort of are testing a lot of just speed. That's important, but like for most purposes, like I said, the competitions get slower and slower as the level goes up. This is one of the things in math that is kind of strange. Like you will find that as you go up, right? SMO round 1, 6 minutes per question. SMO round 2, about 30 to 45 minutes per question. Then after that, you go to the IMO, 1.5 hours per question. Then you go to some university level contest, they give you 1 week. So it gets slower and slower, meaning that the primary school ones are considered like too easy after a while. It's still okay to share it, but it will become a lot less significant. But of course, for all of you who have done well in the primary school competitions, congratulations. It is not just the award, but all the learning that you have had from the primary school competitions will also help you in the SMO. Right? So it's not useless for the all of that time you have spent, but in terms of the award, a bit more emphasis on the learning in primary school is useful to me than the award. Okay, another question, just what level do we start our SMO classes from? Basically, we start almost immediately. The December holiday class for the SMO is going to be called SMO Sec 1, right? It's called SMO Sec 1, meaning that for those of you who are in P6 right now, it's referring to your level next year. If there's any P5s who are interested and you're willing to challenge yourself, that's also okay, right? So the level is called SMO Sec 1, and basically it goes up. So for my, I'm in charge of the curriculum for the secondary school side. So basically everything from Sec 1, Sec 2, Sec 3, Sec 4, all the way until JC/SMO open level are designed by me. So I can say that there is a curriculum. You don't have to technically go all the way, but the starting at Sec 1 with that algebra is quite useful because otherwise learning algebra on your own to get ready for the SMO is quite difficult. And so that's why we're getting started straight away in like the holiday class next month. Okay, so if you have any other questions, yeah, you can say it out loud or you can type it into the chat, whichever you prefer. If you type it in the chat, I'll just share the question with everyone, but I won't share who asked the question. How do you register for the SMO? Okay, so you're talking about the SMO classes. Of course, just speak to our COCO SMO level head in terms of the registration. If you're talking about the SMO competition itself, that's very far away, right? That's next year in June. There's no hurry. But one thing to note is that the SMO registration is only through your school. So SMO, we cannot help you sign up. Just like some of the primary school competitions, we cannot help you sign up, right? Some we can help, but most we cannot. That's the competition rules. So if you are in a local secondary school, guaranteed no problem. If you're in primary 6, you more or less cannot, except for like, I guess there are always rare exceptions, which I won't go into, but you can't really just go and sign up as a primary 6. If you're in an international school, some international schools already sign up, but if not, you can check with the person in charge of the math department or the math competition to see if they sign up for the SMO, and ask them to sign up if, let's say, that you would like to take part and you found out the school does not, because it's actually quite easy for the school. They just need to have someone to invigilate. Okay, but that will come next year, so there's not a huge hurry in that. Okay, maybe we have time for like a couple more questions.
Because in secondary school, you have to stay back for like 4 out of the 5 days. And if we still do the if we still do SMO, will we still have like time to do other things?
We still have time to do other things. Yeah. Okay.
Do we actually have to do 45 hours a week?
No. You do not have to do 45 hours a week. Now, 45 hours a week, I'm saying that if, let's say, you become a mathematician, you would easily spend that amount of time. You are not a mathematician, and no, you do not have to spend 45 hours a week. If let's say that you are doing like SMO in terms of like the fixed lessons, I can say that the SIMO training, if you qualify, that's like 3 hours a week on Saturday morning. And then some of you have school training, let's say that can be once a week, like for a few hours. And then if you, let's say you're at COCO, so that's like once a week, 1 over hour. Theoretically speaking, I would say that you just do as much as you find enjoyable. That's okay to say that during exams, I don't do anything. During, let's say, like holidays, I do a lot more. So will you have time to do other things? Yes, a lot of people doing SMO will still have fun. They still play games, they still take part in sports, they still have musical instruments, they take part in other subjects, competitions also, go out with your friends. Like I said, it should be fun. Just do as much as it is enjoyable to do. Any final questions? Otherwise, I'm definitely going to pass the time over to Chen Lao Sư to talk about IP math. Okay, so if there's nothing else right now, I will hand the time over. So I also stop the recording. Let's say if you have any other questions, you can let our SMO level head know, and then some of the things can also be relayed over to me if you have any other questions. Okay, but otherwise, thanks to everyone for coming. I'll hand the time over now, and yeah, hopefully you enjoy your SMO journey ahead, whether or not you're taking a class with me or with COCO. Hope you have fun.